All right, welcome my least favorite gaming community in the entire world. What's up, Dota players? It's Diseases Jesus. You can call me Dota 2 Jesus. Today we're going to be talking about some warding tips, some alternatives to some cliff wards, some different spots that you might be able to use in your games that will allow your wards to go undetected and allow your team to make the best plays with some smokes. So let's get into it. All right, well, I mean, the whole world knows your wards suck and you can't get any Dota 2 girls. So I'm here to teach you. How do Dota 2 girls want you to ward in their game so that way they can win? All right, so we're going to take a trip over to the dire side triangle. We're going to be looking at an alternative to the cliff spot. Most people like to do that mid lane cliff spot right in front. So we're going to go a little bit deeper. Early game, this will go completely undetected. Maybe later in the stages when they're trying to deward that second cliff, they might catch on to this one. But if you tuck this right on the ancient, right on that tree, it'll be able to see. You can see the large camp and you'll be able to see the ancient camp, the creeps in vision. That's very crucial. There's different types of wards. You can have something like a pass through ward, which is going to be in a, it might cover a little hallway and you might see someone walk across real fast and then you'll know, hey, they're on this side of the map. And then you have a different type of ward that's going to allow your team to see very static information. And that's what this ward's going to do. If they're sitting in the triangle farming, if they're farming this large camp and the ancient camp, you're just going to be able to see them for almost a whole minute probably on the timer in the early game. They'll just be standing here, and that gives your team so much comfort moving around the map. If they can see a core that's sticking to a certain area, that gives your team so much freedom. So it's very crucial when you're putting down wards that you're covering jungle camps, that you can see the creeps in the camp, so that way when somebody's actively farming that, your team is getting static information. And a lot of times the cliff spots don't cover jungle camps, or they don't cover more than one jungle camp. So taking a break from the cliffs and going more advanced and putting a deeper ward into something like this where you're showing multiple camps has immense value. A little side tip here: if you put a sentry in this tree area, more often than not, if it's going to get dewarded, it's going to be because they have an observer on the cliff spot there, right? It's very unlikely that someone in the mid game, maybe in the mid game, but in the late game, moving behind that tree, they're 9 times out of 10 going to go in front of those trees. Unless you're in a fight, maybe they're positioning, they might see it. But casually, that will probably go undetected in most games unless there's an observer on that high ground. So that'll give you a good notice of where their vision is. But maybe they're smart and they're playing the mind games. Maybe they'll let that ward sit there. They won't attack it. When you're doing wards like this, sentries like this, you need to make sure you have someone on your team that's going to be able to give you high ground vision with an ability, a spell like Vengeful Spirit, Crystal Maiden. Those are just off the top of my head. Someone that can give you, I mean, a Marana can even leap up there. That is not terrible, but you need to make sure you're utilizing these type of wards when you have someone on your team that can give you vision like that. So this spot here, if there's a tree on the top end by the outpost, if you destroy that one, you can plant a ward right above it. You're going to get sight straight into that large camp, and you're going to get sight over the bounty runes. And then if you destroy the tree to your left, you're going to get sight into that second large camp or medium camp. I don't know. Are they all larges and smalls? So then you're getting sight over the rune, and you're getting sight over two camps again. Like I was saying, you're getting that static information. If someone's farming this, they're going to be under this vision for, two camps straight under vision. I mean, that's going to be a minute on the map that your team's going to have a ton of comfort. This spot here in the Radiant Jungle goes undetected. I don't know if this one's ever been dewarded in any of my games. I haven't seen anyone else use this. I kind of came up with this one on my own. I don't know if I've even seen anyone else in a pub do this. So you guys should copy me though. I really like this one. So instead of doing that cliff there, it's going to dodge the sentry on that cliff. It's going to dodge the sentry on the cliff a little bit to the south. And you're going to tuck it in the middle here on the side of the outpost. Right, you're going to nudge your mouse a little bit until you see that blue line. It's going to cut. It's going to kind of get chopped off. You're going to go just that tick up so you get that full ramp in view, and you're going to plant it right there. And then if you have a quelling blade on you, you can cut that closest tree, and then you're going to get vision of the creeps. If you don't cut that tree, it's still a really good ward. You're going to get vision of that ramp and a lot of people walking by. But this ward will go undetected and give you so much valuable information. If you knock down the tier 1 and bottom and smoke up and put this ward in within by the 12-minute mark or so, it's just from there until 20 minutes, your team's just going to be owning. They're not going to be able to walk on the bottom side of the map until 20 minutes. It's a huge impact. Here's another one of the spots that dodge a cliff sentry in the top lane. I use this. I wouldn't use this in the lane. I would use this in the later stage of the game, probably if you're Radiant and you want to get you want to let your offlaner extend a little bit further into the lane. Like if they haven't taken your T1 yet, and you want to make sure he can secure some jungle farm if he needs to reach a little further out. This ward will secure that for him without getting deward on that cliff. And you'll be able to, if you plant this right, you do kind of the same deal with the other one where you plant it in such a way where you're getting as much of the blue line as you can, and as soon as it chops, you go the tick above that, plant it. And then if you go a little bit up, you'll be able to quelling blade that tree. You'll get straight sight into the small camp, and that's just a lot of value right there. You're going to be able to see a ton of the map right there. And in the later stage of the games, this will go undetected, but early on, it's extremely hard to even get a ward down on this side of the map if you're Radiant, because they'll probably have their small camp sentryed, and then they'll probably have that cliff sentryed as well. But usually in the early game, they'll have the sentry kind of where the observer is, where they're not putting the sentry directly on the cliff. So this will usually get spotted in the early game, but definitely in the later stages of the game, I would utilize this. So here we're going to look in one of my wards I did during one of the ranked matches I was playing. I had no idea I was even dodging a sentry by inches, but this just goes to show that, if you habitually place wards like this, you're going to get so much value out of your plays when you're getting so close to a sentry like this, just because you're playing that unorthodox. It's game changing. It'll get you that rank higher. So we're going to take a look at this play here. I end up dewarding this cliff, and I knew I needed to get an observer down, and I obviously cannot put one on that cliff because, that's the first thing they're going to do when they come back up in group as a team. They're going to deward that cliff. So I put it a little bit further back. You can slide it on the side of this ancient. Don't block the camp, but you can put it right there on that ramp. You can see that I completely dodged the sentry that he put covering the front two ramps. He didn't think a deeper ward would be placed. Sometimes that'll get spotted though if they're putting a sentry down to grab that cliff, if they haven't put a sentry on that cliff. But a lot of times this one will go undetected as well, because they'll think you're putting one closer on the front of the stair, but you're putting one deeper by the ancient. It'll go undetected. Other than the spots I just showed you, there's a couple simple tips that you could carry with you in every single game. Always have wards on you. If you're if you're playing support and you're bringing the courier out to you for whatever reason for any item, there is usually no reason why there shouldn't be a sentry on there or an observer on there. Every single time you bring the courier out, you need to be replenishing your stock. You should not be invading the enemy territory without a ward. If you're doing that and a fight breaks out and you can't hit up a cliff that you're close by with an observer, it's going to make your fight so much harder, because they're probably going to have that warded, and now you guys are on their turf with nothing. So if you're smoking up and you're going on their territory, you 100% need to have an observer. I would not have the confidence to smoke up into somewhere blind if I did not have an observer, because sometimes you'll be able to, get the lamp on the cliff real quick and everybody can see in the fight, and then now you just turn the tide of the fight just like that, just by putting an observer down.